Hi, this is Tim of the 1916 Company. Welcome and thanks for logging on. If you love this watch, email us tmosso at the1916company.com for purchase, pricing, and availability questions regarding this watch. Today, I'm featuring something that I consider to be one of the most exciting new releases of 2023 from Chopard. This is the Alpine Eagle XPS 41. So the Alpine Eagle XPS is a thinner, finer Alpine Eagle. Double certification, it is both a Chronometer and Geneva Hallmark. So 41 millimeters in diameter in Lucent Steel, more on that in a moment. It is 8.3 millimeters thick as I measure it, and if we measure edge to edge, just the case, it's 46.5 millimeters. If we measure the first link on each side, the total rigid distance across the wrist is 52.3. Now we'll throw it on my wrist and you can see why I would describe this as a watch that wears true to size. Unlike a lot of integrated bracelet sports watches, there's not a lot of fight in the bracelet. It doesn't feel excessively stiff. And on a 16 centimeter circumference wrist like mine, not only is it supremely flat, but it's not terribly broad. You can see the lugs are well inboard at the edge of my wrist on each side. So I believe you could wear this watch on a wrist as small as 14 centimeters circumference. The bracelet is well known from the original 2019 Alpine Eagle, and the Lucent Steel used on both is 223 Vickers compared to about 155 to 175 Vickers hardness for conventional stainless steels. So this is more scratch resistant. You can see the faceting and the complexity of the assembly. It's actually quite impressive. Look at the countersink of these intermediate links between the primary links. There is no daylight showing through this bracelet. It has some of the smallest lateral play that I've ever experienced on a bracelet on a watch. And you could see how tightly the pieces fit together and also how intricately everything is detailed. It's truly thoughtful and impressive. With every single link removable on both sides, you're going to get a really precise fit. The clasp is a double fold. You can see that it has a double folding action. It is sequential. One side closes before the other. And then you can see that even the release triggers for the clasp have been faceted, satinated, and polished for contrast. Deeply impressive, the attention to detail on this watch. Rolling back to the case, you can see that the bracelet does flare and swell as it approaches the lugs, which have an expanding bevel on their flank. That thins out as you move toward the mid-case, and you can see that the case is anything but simple, with angular outcroppings, satin faces, polished facets, and a very flat bezel that has a satin facet, a very shallow inclined facet and polish, and then this flat facet on top with satination as well as screws that are fixed on the dial side. All this inspired by the 1980 St. Moritz, which was designed by Carl Friedrich Schäufele, one of his first design contributions to the company that his family owns. He's still involved to this day. So the St. Moritz was brought back as the Alpine Eagle in 2019. St. Moritz, of course, giving us the aesthetic of the case, the bracelet, and the bezel, but the Alpine Eagle with its distinctive Eagle's iris dial has a lot of personality in its own right. Now, it's a real sports watch, as you can see in steel, with a screw-down crown and 100-meter water resistance. There's also no shortage of luminescence, including radially arrayed numerals and indices, plus we have tri-Romans at 9, 12, and 3. Now, it does not have a date, which is a change from the standard Alpine Eagle, and yet at the same time, I don't miss it. This watch is much thinner. Again, I measured it at 8.3, which puts it on par with watches like the Patek Philippe 5811 and the Audemars Piguet 16202. The structure of the crown, you can see it is a sort of compass rose. We have a little bit of a countersink of the crown into the flank. The Eagle's iris, this is actually a galvanic treatment Monte Rosa on a gold dial base. You wind up with a dramatic textured and gradient shaded style of metallic surfacing. And you can see what I mean by gradient. From different angles, different parts of the texture will turn light and dark, and it's quite beguiling. It's incredibly handsome. It's far deeper, more severely grooved and thoughtfully detailed than something like a standard sunburst, because you can see how there's a little bit of a spiral to this graining. It's not a lateral brushed pattern like a sunburst. We have a track outboard for reading the minutes. You can see the hands at center have been faceted for better contrast. The watch is a chronometer. Now, the only feature this doesn't have really is hacking seconds. But when we get to the back, you could see a descendant of the movement originally designed for Chopard by Michel Parmigiani back in the 1990s, caliber 96, which debuted in 1996 here. This is the 9604L. So just over 27 millimeters in diameter, just over 3.3 millimeters thick, automatic winding with a 22-karat gold micro rotor, twin stacked barrels, 65-hour power reserve, 5-position adjusted, certified as a COSC chronometer, Geneva Hallmark, and of course, Chopard does have an atelier in the canton of Geneva. So you can only use the Geneva Hallmark if the movement is substantially built and finished in the city or canton of Geneva. And that's how this watch from a Fleurier-based watchmaker manages to earn the Geneva Hallmark. And you can see it is a signature of the entire watch. The entire watch is built in Chopard's Geneva atelier because we have the key of Geneva and the crest of the city on both case and movement. We have engine turning. You could see that we have stripes across the bridges. We have mirrored anglage, and that's quite evident here on the train bridge as well as the balance cock. All screw heads mirror polished. You can see the swan's neck fine adjustment system also mirror polished. It operates at a beat rate of 4 hertz. And you can see it is absolutely gorgeous, leaving nothing to be desired. You can see that overcoil hairspring, allowing the watch to keep excellent time in every physical position relative to gravity. This is a fantastic offering, an under-the-radar offer, and I would even say that the price, when new, in the low 20s, is highly attractive. Pre-owned, even better. This is a watch that has everything going on, and again, it is 100 meters water-resistant. Reach out to Team Mosso at the 1916company.com for purchase and pricing details.